Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome again to this segment of the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm Bruce Broussard, your host, and by George, it's just neat to be there with you today to check in this discussion that we're going to be having today. And you know, the main staple right now is basically the whole issue of the city of Portland, which we've got a problem. City of Portland and Multnomah County, for that matter. This is kind of like the bedroom, if you will, the living room, bedroom, if you will, of this state. And we've got issues, and we've got to solve these issues because we got some big issues that we're going to be having to deal with. We got national issues, we got the presidential race, we've got races all across this country, we got issues nationwide and whatever. But the fact of the matter is, I'm focused here in the Pacific Northwest, more specifically here in the Portland metropolitan area, which includes Multnomah County and also the city council, if you will. And everybody's still looking for that needle in the haystack of trying to figure out what is it going to take to get the city of roses back, if you will, here at the table. And that's basically what our focus is going to be. So we're going to be looking at upcoming elections, upcoming platforms of those folks who are going to be running for office. It's expected that's going to probably be about 100 or so folks running for city council, and probably the same thing for the county aspect of it. And it's constantly, at the same time, they're busy, if you will, trying to resolve a problem with folks who are already sitting in these offices that don't have any solutions. So it's really and I'm not trying to take that away from it, but I've been in this business for a long time, and in most cases I found that people have when they look at their resume, they don't have a resume. You know, it's just slick kind of advertising aspect of it. Hire yourself a PR person and put it out there. Well, we need beyond that particular point now. We need the real leader aspect of it. And so that's basically where we're coming from. So join us, if you will. And so between now and the election and whatever, the Oregon Voters Digest is going to be on top of this issue, and hopefully the bottom line is that we're going to have some leadership. We want leadership to participate. We're going to be interviewing these folks. We're going to be checking out their resumes, and we're going to be making recommendations at the end of the cycle, right up front with you. Okay, good. So with that, I thought I'd bring a person of interest, as far as I'm concerned, that has been dealing in politics for quite some time. In fact, I just happened to have known his dad for some time. He was politically right in his own rights, if you will. Gentleman, he was a lawyer here. He's very, very far, and I knew his brother and a lot of the other folks. And his name was John Toran. And I've got his son with me today, and guess what? He's following in the footsteps in many ways. He doesn't have his law degree per se, but trust me, Dad is still on his back. But the bottom line is that John is quite a person. He's very active in community and other issues and whatever. And it just so happened, I saw him the other day, and he's actively going through a situation where he's responding, if you will, to that whole leadership concept by basically just looking at the issues that are being presented, that's sitting out there on the board, and then just looking at it and coming up with some ideas in terms of what solutions are going about. So there's a whole bunch of other things, but we'll let him. I'm gonna let him explain himself, etc., and we're just gonna go from there. So, John, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for inviting me on your show today.
Oh, hey, it's great. It's great having you here, and I really appreciate the fact that you're at the table. You're at the table trying to see what can you do and what can you contribute, if you will, to solving the problems here in the county and the city of Portland. Mm-hmm. And because we definitely need all the help we can get. And that's basically one of the reasons why I've got you sitting in this chair right now, and see whether or not we might be able to, we're joining you. It's a team, right? It's all about a team, and that's what we're going to be trying to do. So thanks very much for being here with us today, okay? Good.
Thank you. So I was going to say, I feel like in your introduction you really nailed it on the head. Mm-hmm. All political power comes from the people, the voters. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there's a shift in the population where people are starting to put outcomes over ideology now, based on like all these real problems that most people commonly identify. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like this election is going to represent people, the voters, voting on outcomes versus ideologies.
That's great. Because I like that point, because the fact of the matter is it was a timely kind of a deal to do that, because we were having issues all over the country, for that matter. Have my point? And then as a result of that, things just totally got mismanaged. You wasn't getting the kind of people responding to the table to solve the problems, if you will. And so it's a timely, but now we've got work on our hand.
Yeah, and I think with the way that I'm 48.
Right.
My whole life we've had positive momentum and been on a growth trajectory. Just having that momentum sort of papered over some of our problems. But now that we're trending in sort of a negative direction, leadership becomes a lot harder, because you have to set priorities versus like when you have all this positive momentum, you can say yes to everything.
Right.
When you don't have the positive momentum, you have to manage people's expectations and learn how to say no without destroying morale.
Right. And by that, I was going to mention, you how old are you?
48.
You're 48. See, I'm 68, 65, 60, I'm sorry, 86.
I would have guessed you were around my age.
No, I'm sorry. 68. See, I turned that number around. Anyway, I thought I'd throw a little jest, man. Because as far as I'm concerned, we all have to be at the table to solve this particular problem. It's not about age and not about color. It's about looking at what the issues are about, putting together a plan, and solving. At the end of this, during the election, we want the city of Roses back, and the county and this state functioning.
Yes.
And the leadership coming in. Folks at your level, if you will. We passing the baton, okay? I'm just going to make sure that you do, when I pass the baton, you do the work.
There you go. I got you.
So what's on your mind? Let's talk about some of the things that you were doing.
So basically during the Thanksgiving week, I started circulating a survey.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I have about 2,900 contacts in my database, plus like whatever I have in my phone. And we've been getting some really good responses on that. I think we're up to 151 responses. And I try to take a wide spectrum look at, the issues that I've heard,
right.
And just going out and meeting people. I don't really talk to like a lot of political consultants and things like that. I think the actual people who are impacted by the policy do a really good job of explaining what the problems are. And one thing I'm recognizing is that there's a disconnect between what people need, outcomes, everything from dealing with the housing crisis, drug crisis, public safety, versus the solutions that politicians are offering. And so I hope to have the people be more engaged in selecting their leadership that are going to represent their issues as best as possible.
I might add to that, that's basically how I got you sitting in this seat, because I got questions also too, and I thought it was brilliant that you've done it, and that you've added other entities that were there besides the major four. That basically complement the other four. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and one of the questions that I sent it out to my small group of advisors first, and they were asking me, it's like, why are you asking about the bottle bill?
Right.
I live in downtown Portland, and so we're the homeless crisis is a little bit more accelerated down there, and so we deal with issues that haven't quite made it for to the people that live further out. One of the things that people in the Pearl District are having a really big problem with is the bottle bill. And everybody was like, well, why are you asking about the bottle bill in this? The city of Portland doesn't administer the bottle bill. But there are a lot of people in the community that think that the bottle bill is making the drug crisis worse and making people, homeless people, congregate in their neighborhoods sort of unnaturally. And then I don't know if you've seen the videos of people using their food stamps to go buy water, dumping it all out, and then going inside to turn in the bottles.
Yes.
So, it seemed like it was out of left field, but it is it is an issue that is related to the homeless crisis. And
I liked that because I noticed in all the questions I saw there, you've included the total community, because the business community has their lane, and then you've got outside residential communities, and then you got a breakdown from the standpoint of the classes. You got me? And I liked it the way you structured those questions. Really, I saw that.
Thank you.
I saw that, and you're right. It is, and in a roundabout way, each should be given the same respect to respond to their issue in their lane. Fair?
Yeah, fair, exactly. And I really do feel that for Portland to get its momentum back, we have to become like radically pro small business.
Okay. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, good. So let's go. Is there any, can we maybe select maybe two of the entities, two of the questions that you'd asked?
Yeah, absolutely.
That we can discuss. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and so
it shows the beginning.
We have put a link to the story.
Right, okay.
It's underneath the graphics. So if any of your
Let's do
viewers
that.
would like to view that,
let's do that now. Can we do that, Steve? Can we do that? Is possible? Those graphics. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get it.
Yeah, it's right there.
Survey. Okay, so basically they would just basically go to that link. Mm-hmm. Okay, but we don't have we don't have the link itself that we can share this with them right now. No, we can't do that. Okay.
I could do a QR code.
That's okay. Otherwise, that's okay, Steve. We got it. You got it up there, right? You got it in. He's got it in the show.
Okay, good.
We'll just make sure that we identify this and let them know that there it is. There it is in the front of right there on the show now. It says John Toran, the entrepreneur. Survey HTTPS. Is it colon right?
//gforms.app/9V57GYU.
Okay. Very important that you, to the viewing audience, very important that you go to that particular link and look at it. But we're going to be discussing that across the board.
Yeah.
And he's got you can actually get all of the questions, if you will, and respond. We want you to respond. Now that's what I'm getting, John. John wants you to respond to that, so we can have a discussion on some of the outcomes on future shows.
Yes.
Because we're going to be doing these shows on this particular piece that you brought to the table.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that because then that we've got a controlled kind of an environment, so to speak, and people are not getting outside of the lanes.
Right.
We want you to continue to make your limit. But my point is that I think it's very, very important that we focus specifically so we can really deal with these issues. And right up front, and the thing that, again, like I said, you will then see why I made that statement to John initially when we were in the introduction, from the standpoint of how beneficial this was, if you will, to be able to do that. Because you basically took the entire community, everybody, involved in the whole piece. And from an economic standpoint, I look at it in three different categories. You got the well-to-do, middle class, and low income. All three are very representative.
Yeah.
And we can talk about each of those groups separately, so to speak, and how they can contribute, if you will, to the outcome, and that is getting a way of life that identifies with everyone and talks to solutions. Not to say that we might still see excerpts of it, like we've done in the past, which we've always used the word 10%, right?
Right.
And the other 90% carried everything, right? And now it's just the opposite.
Right.
It's as if to say the 10% is controlling the 90. And we're not getting anywhere, right?
Right.
You got my point?
Well, yeah, I mean, just as our vision from our city has changed.
Yes,
a lot,
yes.
and I'd like to get these crises put behind us as fast as possible, so we can kind of work on those great vanity projects that made Portland great.
Yes. And and like I said, I really got excited about it because I had to look at it about 4 or 5 times. I said, "Gee whiz, do I know this person?" Luckily for me, I first when I saw your name there, I said, "Wow, I got to give you a call."
Nice.
Because and get this out here to the public because we need to be on track. We got to get in our respective lanes. Mm-hmm. You got me? And not that I'm trying to take over the show, but I'm so excited about the fact that we're sitting here talking. Now we have some sense of direction.
Yes.
You got me?
Yes.
And I like that because those are some of the things that I've been running as far as my deal for years, if you will, putting something in the front of my face. You got my point? To run to get at the table.
Right.
Well, see, at the end of the day, I couldn't control that other medium. See what I'm saying? And we just didn't have like resumes. The people who were bringing it to the table didn't have the resumes to solve the problem. And so consequently, if you don't have the resume, you can't solve the problem. See what I'm saying? But this is clear. It's in lay terms. I like the lay terms. Everybody can identify with it. in any of those three categories, whether you're well-to-do, whether you're middle class, or whether you're low income, got me?
Right.
And even down at the bottom line, you got my point, you've identified with every entity that's causing the issue that we have to resolve to get to a point that gets back to our city of roses.
Yes.
And start, and then talk to our futuristic thing. Because we got a bank of, well, just recently we had the boycott with the schools. And the issue of the schools, from the standpoint of not identifying the largest school district in the state of Oregon. And it's not, they're going to have to be producing some folks. Folks that are going to be taking the lead.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and that was the second time their schooling has been interrupted. If they were a freshman,
right,
they had to deal with the lockdowns in 2020,
exactly,
and then they're a senior this year, and they're losing, a month of their schooling. It's really unfortunate.
Right, and see, and like I said, I'm taking your model, and I'm saying, well, your model talks to, they're also inclusive. Mm-hmm. They're part and parcel, if you will.
Yeah.
And on the other side, the way it sits today is just a separate entity. And they're just attacking the individual who's leading the charge for the union, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But there's some real issues there.
Yeah.
And I was so glad she brought those issues up. And she basically said, okay, fine, you better go on and get these teachers online. And how do you attract them? Cost of living and all kind of stuff. Things are happening and whatever. So I thought that was a good piece, and hopefully you guys that are looking at this particular show and the kind of discussion that we're having, you will basically put your neighbors together. Get your neighbors to look at the show. There's going to be a rerun of this particular show, or if not that, you'll have a link, and you can share the link of this with other partners or folks outside of the communities or whatever, if you're interested, because you should be interested. This is the time to do this. But have those discussions just like we're having discussions. We're telling you how to do it.
Yeah, and so with the survey, we're going to leave it open for the month of December. Okay. We just put it out last week. We've gotten 151 responses.
Really?
Yep. I don't want to say anything on the show that will bias anybody's answers, but we do have two answers: the first question and the last question that we can discuss.
Yeah, let's do that. Can we do this now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do that.
Okay, I've got the responses here.
Get those responses
on my phone.
Hit those two items.
So the first question on the survey is: do you feel that Portland is on the wrong or right track?
There you go.
And we've got 152 responses for that. 85.5% of people said we're on the wrong track.
Interesting. Let's talk about it. Yes. Okay. Good.
Yeah. And so again, I think the core issues that people have identified are homelessness, our drug crisis, and public safety.
Right.
So obviously, and that's why we asked the other questions in the survey. We're able to at least identify why people think it's on the right track, on the wrong track. And then the other question that I wanted to discuss was all the way at the end, is where I ask, what are people's political ideology?
And what do you mean by that?
So I'm asking, would you consider yourself a progressive, liberal, moderate, or conservative? Mm-hmm. And so, this is kind of an interesting thing that's happening to, I'd say the vast majority of people in Portland are liberal,
right?
But the livability crisis has made people's opinions shift to being like more moderate because they want to get outcomes versus just ideological battles that are happening all the time. And so in this poll, we had 148 responses, 10% identified as progressive, 20% identified as liberal, 52% identified as moderate, and 16.9% identified as conservative.
Interesting. Almost like those three categories we just mentioned. Maybe.
Yeah, I feel like we're getting a really good cross section of people. It's not an echo chamber that
it's all
we're creating.
Inclusive. Like I said, the well-to-do, right? Well-to-do. You got the middle class, and you got the low income.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking about when the population, they understand that's where those levels are, right? Is that my point? And you're considering that in terms of how they respond. Because when a person says, well, I'm a very liberal, right? In most cases, a lot of times it gets in the well-to-do aspect there. Because they look, well, it's not my neighborhood.
Yeah, it's a different mindset. It is a different set of problems, or the solution to problems.
Right.
I feel like in a well-to-do neighborhood, it's very easy to call the police and expect them to come and stop the bad person from doing a bad thing. In lower-income neighborhoods, I don't know if people aren't as eager to call the police because they don't know that it might not be the bad guy that's getting in trouble.
Or the bad guy's living in the neighborhood.
Right. So the view, like the view on policing is going to be different based on your economic status.
Right. And and at the same point, we're having a discussion now about it. For instance, see, as far as I'm concerned, there's not a bad guy. It's as if to say you got to focus, you got to single that person out and find out what their problems are. You see what I'm saying? If they don't have a job, there's a problem there. And then if you don't have a job, and you got a family, you got to feed the family.
Right.
Okay, so where do I get the money to get the family? And if, excuse the French, if I had to spend some time in the institution, you got me? I can't get a job in certain cases, right? So now, where's your income?
Yeah.
But you still got to feed those babies. And you got a wife, you got a family. So things happen. There's a whole different ball game aspect of it. Whether getting drugs, or whether it be sales of drugs, or whether it be this, or whether it be bringing out. But my point is that needs to be discussed. You got me? And then you can pull out those individuals that if all of a sudden I can get this person a job, then all of a sudden now they get out of that class.
Yeah, and I think more importantly is like living wage job.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I've my last two businesses, I created jobs. One was as a dispensary owner. It was like a little bit over minimum wage. I saw how like my employees struggled with that, but that's just the way the business model was set. On the other end, when I had my Toran construction, I only worked on prevailing wage jobs.
Okay.
So I was able to provide like living wage jobs to people where they were able to go and have like a balanced life, and working a normal amount of time. So, but yeah, I agree with you on that.
And and the other thing I think about in terms of your plan, I'm looking at it from the standpoint we've had this issue of gentrification, but a lot of folks don't break it down. You know what I'm saying? Because just like you're saying, is that what's acceptable about the fact people across the board from that are constantly concerned about, well, gee, I just can't afford it anymore, especially in the low income and even middle class, so to speak, right?
Yeah, we're clearly having a housing crisis, and we need more housing at all price points.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
At all price points.
So sometimes you gotta. That's why I was breaking out the definition of what is gentrification. It's gentrifying for everything. Cost of living.
Yeah.
Being able to survive here. And that class down, this low income and part of middle class, is all part of that too. Got my point?
Yeah, I think the middle class and lower class are being impacted disproportionately by inflation.
Exactly.
Inflation works if you've got assets because they go up in value.
Exactly.
But if you're just making if you are making an hourly wage, well, your wage growth isn't keeping up with the inflation.
Exactly. And then thinking in terms of as far as high income, the first person I thought about right off the bat, those folks who own those buildings.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? All of a sudden, there's no income anymore.
Well, you're seeing the manifestation of the inflation in all the strikes that are occurring nationwide.
Yes.
All workers are complaining about the impact on their dollars buying power.
Exactly. And see, and what I did basically, I took what you just said, and I said to myself, well, they just put together a committee, put a lane for downtown. That group, they basically called up the governor and put the in and said, no, you come here and sit down here, because we got an issue here. I mean, I can't make my mortgage payments. That's basically what they're saying, and then I need more money, if you will, to do the rehab and all that kind of good stuff. So, but it's something that they've got. It's an issue that has to be discussed, right?
Absolutely.
Got me? And just like you're saying, the middle class and low income, they got their issues aspect of it. Again, that's why I enjoyed that piece. I'm sorry, I just
Well, thank you.
I just thought I threw that out there.
Well, that's what we're here for. Yeah.
See, that's what we're having.
Yeah.
And hopefully the viewing audience would see what we're doing.
Yes.
Because we would like for them to do the same thing.
And,
Put people on the table.
feedback's important, you know. And it's like I know I didn't cover everything. I wanted it to be able to be completed in 5 minutes.
Right.
But you know, there are still other issues out there that are pertinent.
Oh, you got
to us.
You hit the button.
In
Trust me.
March, we're gonna add some more questions.
But
to
you
it.
hit into the button.
Well, thank you.
In fact, if I had my say in terms of what should you do, no, just get if you got these, we have Portland back.
Okay.
I'm just being straight up. No, don't confuse them. No, see, because I'm just saying if they really get in on it and they start working hard, the folks on low income they may have to take some little extra time. See what I'm saying? To be able to say that they are identified, and they are recognized that they have a problem. All of those entities, those three entities, have to be. They need to know that they are part of the solution.
Well, yeah, I mean inclusivity means the entire spectrum, not just the people that agree with you.
Right. And all I'm doing, I'm just talking to you. I had more questions. You got it. Now this is just me. That's an opinion.
Yeah.
You know, but if you got some more better deal, well, hey, fine. But if we go that way, make sure. That's one of the reasons why I'd like for you to come back on and discuss why, and we kind of vet those. I want to make sure we vet those too. Yeah. They can do just between the two of us or whatever. We can go pro and con, but the idea is we want to make sure that when we throw it out there to them, that they don't leave this, and they include it. You got me? But still stay targeted on the major goal, and that is.
And I would love to be a part of the show, and I'd love to bring on subject matter experts on these individual issues, get their opinions on it, and see if they match up to what the people are responding.
Yes.
Because I feel like there's a kind of like that ivory tower disconnect.
Okay.
Where leadership is proposing all these ideological based solutions that the people on the street actually see that it's not working.
Yes. Well, that's very unique because a lot of times in our present day situation, they're left out of the deal. Mm-hmm. They're left out of it. You know, with respect, and I think that and just thinking about that they're left out. I'm taking the city of Portland aspect of it, and looking what the mayor is doing, as opposed to what the commissioners are doing. You know, the mayor is saying, he just said right up front, I'm out of here. I'm not going to be running next time around. I thought that was a good piece on that. But at the same time, he said, I still have a job to do.
Right.
And then he went on, and I'm taking a couple of things that were pretty well announced and discussed, and that was the whole issue of the reconstruction, coming up with the 12 seats at City Hall. And he said, well, these guys, people have to be moved out. They're going to go over here until we get this thing, the remodeling to accommodate for the 12 individuals.
Right.
And then there was oppositions from the city, from the present folks who are sitting in the seats.
Right.
You know my point? And he said, no, this is the way it's going to be. But he also made a statement, we're going to do this. The other day, he said, from now on, I think I'm going to go on and I'm going to take all the bureaus back. And I thought that was kind of interesting, and I thought it was a good deal because what I heard was that, well, they're not doing the job anymore. Everybody's running for office.
Exactly. that is something like that I agreed with the mayor on, and it's like you don't want the administration of the bureaus to be politicized, especially during a campaign. I was like, oh man, but that kind of led me to one of the criticisms. The city just adopted a new organizational chart with the city administrator.
Right, city administrator. Right. Right.
And so, the mayor, has proposed taking over control over all bureaus.
Right.
He's proposing to do that. The mayor also makes policy, collaborates in making policy from amendments to introducing new legislation and everything. So he's doing the two core functions, administration and policy.
The future one.
No, the current mayor.
The current mayor does.
He was proposing it with taking over all the bureaus.
Okay.
But he still got the policy making component. The mayor has a staff of 22.
Right.
The city administrator is just going to do administration of the bureaus. He's proposing having a staff of 30 to do this.
Wow.
So So
Wow.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. He doesn't have to make any laws. He doesn't have to make any amendments or anything like that. And I'm just using he because because it currently is you know the guy.
Well, you know the point that you're making right now, that's a very confused point. That's a very serious point that's out there now that people don't know. They really don't. Wait, what is administrator and what is the mayor? You got me? And then you got the other commissioners. I mean, there's 3 different categories there.
Yeah.
See? And wait a minute. And then I'm the taxpayer. I got to think, well, how do I fit in this thing? I don't even know what these folks are doing. And then you start thinking about, well, the group that was together, that put this piece together, you're going back to that group and saying, well, wait a minute. Was this discussed in that group? And I'm not knocking it one way or the other. I'm saying it that I think the way it was done was that it was kind of like a political thing. I mean,
Ideology over outcome.
yeah, just you know. So they just basically say, okay, fine, we're going to do it this way, but I'll be right up front with you. Some folks say, well, gee whiz, Bruce, I don't like this, and that. But guess what? But we got the issue on the table. That's how you were able to get your piece to the table to talk about. Now, let's see if we can correct some of those things. Just taking it to the next level. We got to identify specifically what each of those entities are going to do. That hasn't been done yet.
Yeah, that's where it starts. You just can't give. To me, based on what my parents have taught me and grandparents, you can't give leadership without a vision.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
We've got to get everybody aligned.
And it doesn't have that. And that's why I like the way you laid that piece out that way. This is a good start.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we're going to have to make some hard decisions, and what I wanted people to walk through was like my decision-making process.
Right.
Because I'm just representative of the people.
Right.
And so these aren't hard questions, but sometimes they just have to be asked in a certain way so that the people can come to their own conclusions.
Right. And you're saying to the folks that put that stuff beforehand, hey, we're not knocking them.
No, I think they created a great opportunity.
That was their feeling.
Yeah.
For the whole city.
Right.
To start with.
Yeah, and again, I think I commend them on their effort. They've taken a lot of arrows getting us to the finish line, and I believe me, I understand kind of like where the problems are, and one of the hard things is that they've given general guidance, and it's not a criticism, it's just general guidance, and then you've hit the ball over into the mayor's court where he has to do something, and then it's kind of like lost control. One of the things that I criticized the mayor about was, we do need 12 new seats in the council chamber, but what the mayor was proposing doing was cutting up the existing commissioner's office so that they could fit 12 commissioners in it. And I'm sitting around, I go and I take a tour of City Hall and find out what's going on, and I found out, wait a minute, the city attorney has a whole floor to themselves, right? And that's a non-elected official. So, my thinking is just leave and the budget or the proposed budget for the remodel was about $8 million, and the bulk of that was going to be spent on cutting up the new office spaces. Why don't we just move the city attorney over into the newly remodeled Portland building across the street, and then we have a whole floor open where we can put, the 8 new legislators, and then also the city election offices in City Hall. That represents other office space. We literally just move all those people into the newly renovated space over in the Portland building, and save some of the money that the mayor's proposing and implementing this new organization.
I got another piece for you.
What do you got?
You got 3 people per district. We've districtized. Fine. We got districtization. Fine. But we districtized. We got 4 districts, right? To me, those are mini cities.
Yes.
And you got 3 people, right? Why not move either all of them in their respective district, or at least 2 of them, and keep one down City Hall if you want to do it that way. But someone has to be there to answer those. Those are different lanes.
Yeah, and I think what is being proposed, and this was one of the confusing things about the organizational chart, is that each legislator would have an office in City Hall and a district office. So they would have 2 offices.
Wait a minute, we get some more.
Yeah, but like the staff allocation for the city for the legislators, commissioners, they're only given two, allocated two people to staff. So you're going to give two offices, but you only get
three. Well, you got three. You got three. So you're going to just two people per. Two staff members per. So that's six. Okay.
So so if you're city councilor A from District 1, you get an office in City Hall.
Right.
You get an office in your district, but you only have two employees.
Wow. So we're going to employee per deal, one person.
I mean,
staff in there?
But it's supposed to be open up to the public. So I don't know how you can staff an office with one person.
No way. Wow.
And and for me, I think it should be, the entire community should have an opportunity to go for these jobs. At least the entire community that's qualified should be able to get those jobs. But safety is a concern. Just off the top of my head, just putting one person in the office in the middle of the district.
Yeah, but the person who's responsible would be the elected official, and in most cases, the people within that particular community. Who am I talking to? They don't want to talk to just a staff person.
Right. They
want to talk to the person who's elected. That's who I voted in. You know what I mean? And I want that person either to pick the phone. Now, a staff person can pick the phone. Maybe they can have a central person just picking up the calls and just bang and giving that information to the person. But if that person has an address in my district, I know where they live. That puts a little bit more pressure.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the exciting opportunities about the district solution that we came up with. My district, for instance, has 109,000 voters.
Wow.
And so, that gives and basically 27,000 votes are needed in order to win the election.
Right. Okay.
So, I mean, that does give the opportunity for small community-based groups to get organized.
Right.
So, in my district, it's 2.9% black. So, but that doesn't sound like very much, but that's 3,000 votes. So imagine if they were all being communicated in harmony, that can have a really big impact, a big voice when it comes to the legislature.
But then again, going back to your peace aspect of it, it's going to be a different lane. Each category is going to vary depending upon the district.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And once you identify that, that's the election. So to speak, got me?
Yep.
And then hopefully, if that is the election, then those entities have to have the resume for those specific issues. Fair? Got me?
Yeah.
But that's not clearly laid out. That's another reason why we're sitting there chatting, and that's why I use the viewing audience should basically do the same thing we're doing, having discussions and feeding back, if you will, the information to the focal point. Was what John is coming up. That's basically, he's asking for that response to break that down so we can have that discussion here, finalization of it in terms of this is what it is. So before the elections. So consequently, now you'll be able to educate the people within your respective district, and folks who have the right resumes can come to the table.
Yep.
Because that's what we want.
Yes, we do.
And then now the thing is that now if we got that piece done, now where does that information goes from the standpoint of the city? Is it the mayor's office, the mayor's position, or the city manager? Where does that go?
I guess I haven't looked at the government quite that, the new government quite from the perspective of how the mayor operates with this new information. But a big part of being, one of 12 is holding the auditor accountable, holding the city administrator accountable, and holding the mayor accountable.
Yeah, that's why we're having these discussions.
Yeah.
And we're going to have those discussions because at some point in time, all that information has to come to the table equally. Each district should be, their issues should be sent to the table, and then at the end of that, that's a discussion, and at the end it has to talk to the big picture to make sure that we're talking about the entire city, resolving it, as opposed to saying, okay, fine, you can have more crime over here, but none here.
Right.
You got me? We'll react over here, but we won't react here. No, it's a reaction for the entire city, right? Equally.
It helps morale when everybody, again, is on the same page.
And seeing results.
Yes.
You got my point?
Yeah.
And prioritizing those entities such that when the folks get it, it's an inclusionary deal for everybody. So at the end of the day, people will get, they'll hey, look, this is great. We did something over here today. You know what I mean? And then get another batch of stuff and do it and follow that same proceeding. That's just some thoughts that came out. But like I said, you bring the whole deal to the table. See. So now the mayor again. Let's talk about what about this mayor's responsibility. Still, he won't be basically. He won't be the chair now.
Right. So the mayor won't. The mayor won't have any voting power.
No voting power.
The mayor won't have the veto. The mayor can cast a tie-breaking vote. So if we're at 6-6, the mayor can step in. I think the most significant thing that the mayor can do is hiring the city manager.
Hiring the city manager. Okay, fine.
Which is confirmed by the council. And the council can remove the city manager with a 9-3 vote.
Okay. Now, where are the bureau chiefs all about? Now, we got bureau chiefs that are sitting there.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be getting that information, if you will, and they've got to be a part of that mix. Where do the city bureau chiefs?
So the bureau chiefs are going to. Again, the new council gets to create its own organizational chart once we start.
Right.
But. Essentially how it goes now, the new chart that was adopted, the bureau chiefs report to an assistant city administrator.
Okay.
Or assistant city manager.
Right.
And so basically what the city manager has done is create an assistant city manager for each one of those bureaus, essentially. Just they've grouped some of them together.
But that's part of his staff.
Yeah,
that's his staff.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But he has to basically come up with that piece and say, okay, fine, this is the response, and talk to that piece we just talked about from the stand. How is this going to represent the entire city? Mm-hmm. Not basically be selective and identify with 2 or 1 or 3 or 4. Right,
and then communicating is important. Like, how do we communicate that? And then, like, if somebody is getting told no, how do we tell them without losing them?
Right. And then what impact will the mayor have on the decision of the city manager?
Right.
Who's controlling? Who's coming up with this is what I recommend? And then you got to have a mayor. Then they'll say, okay, fine, I'll take the recommendation and communicate it to the all, if you will, as opposed to basically where we are right now. Is you have to respond to the money.
Yes.
Right? You know what I mean? So that's basically that's the lane that the city has right now, talking to the deal, and we still want them to be part of the deal. But they've got this what you're talking about. What I saw was responding to the entire city, and then I'm saying, where do we go with that? That's a problem.
So yeah, just
and they're rewriting this piece every day.
Yes, there's a lot of there's a lot of people putting input on it.
Yes,
and so when I publish this, there are actually a couple of politicians that are in a couple of the questions. Cool. So I ask about people's opinion on the current district attorney and the person that's running.
Right.
So one of the powers of the survey is being able to share the results with them.
Right.
So if they're not doing this stuff on their own, I can at least come to them, show them my data, and say, well, if you haven't thought about it this way, well, how are you going to respond to this?
Right. See. And then now we're talking about not just the city of Portland, we're talking about the county.
Yeah.
See, and that's an issue.
Yeah.
And that's where the DA is.
Yeah.
See, and then sometimes you ask yourself the question, folks didn't even know who was the DA, and was he working for himself or was he working for the city? In this particular case, right now, the way things are gone, is as if to say the city's running the whole deal. But they're part of district number 2 for the county.
Right.
And district number 2, I think, what district does downtown identify with?
That's District 4, my district.
That's District 4,
yeah.
See? So consequently, they got to be responding from that end of it. But it's a holistic approach the way they're looking at the DA now. You got me? And then the county is in charge. So consequently, somebody in the county say, oh no, he doesn't have no budget. Or she doesn't have a budget.
Yeah.
Because I don't like what you're doing. I mean, that's what we're going through right now.
Yeah, I know that he's having a lot of, the current DA is having a lot of trouble recruiting public defense attorneys, and so that's creating all kinds of bottleneck in the prosecutorial pipeline. So.
Well, in all due respect, I think one of the problems, this is just an opinion, is that because of it's occurring downtown, the businesses are reacting to what the problem they're having. We want you to get these folks off the street.
Yeah.
So consequently, you take these folks off the street, but then what about the rest of the folks who are paying for the deal? I mean, is that fair? Because it should be responding some way, shape, or form. It's got to respond to the entire city.
Yeah.
As opposed to just one entity of the deal. Make sense?
It totally makes sense.
So that's Ford's deal. See,
yeah.
So Ford's got to be very much involved in the process, and then you've got, and because of Ford, now I don't know what county, as far as the county, what district does the county identify? Are they a part of the same district?
Yes.
Good. So that makes it good. See, so my point, they've got to be involved in that process.
And I think you were spot on, and I think that's one of the cool things about my district is that we do have downtown.
Oh, yes.
And like you said in the intro, we are the gateway to Portland. We are the gateway to Multnomah County.
That's huge.
We're the gateway to the Tri-County area.
You got to keep
We are the gateway to the state of Oregon.
Exactly.
And right now in downtown, based on just my experience, nothing like that, but I think we're having an existential identity crisis.
Right.
Do we want to be known as like this great tourist center, or do we want to be known as a place for people to detox and rehab from a drug crisis?
Right.
And so right now, it seems like our priority is based on dealing with our homeless and drug addicts in downtown, and that's just it's a direct conflict with tourists.
Exactly.
And you're seeing what's happening to our reputation nationally and internationally.
Exactly.
So really, if you wanted to give it as a big picture, what will the people elected in 2024, what is their big objective? Improving the reputation of Portland.
Right.
And it's not putting up cute billboards.
Right. Exactly.
Both sides are doing that.
Yes.
It's having people come here and having like a Portland experience that talks about, that speaks to like inclusivity, environmental consciousness, sustainability, alternative forms of transit.
Right.
I mean, these are the things that we were known for. People used to come from all over the world to learn about this.
Exactly.
But now people, when they come, bad things are happening.
That's right. That's right. And I feel that if you don't get the other districts responsive to being a part of the solution, that's where we're sitting here now.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I do, and I feel what for a loose term is like the ideologues are much better organized.
Yeah.
Much better organized. It's like I go to all kinds of events along the political spectrum, and when I go to an event that I would consider progressive, they outnumber the moderates 20-1. Now, our survey wouldn't suggest that because the majority of people that responded were moderates. But when I go to like East County Rising, for instance, that I would consider that was a very progressive group.
Yeah.
300-400 people on a Saturday, just volunteering their time, maybe even paid for it to go.
Yeah.
And then you go to like a future Portland meeting, which would be considered much more moderate. They're lucky to have 20. So there is some kind of disconnect with what the survey is saying versus like what we see out here in the streets.
But you recognize
or
it.
what we see in the battlefield.
But you're recognizing it. See, and this is the time to do it. You got my point? And we got to do it now. And that's the reason why we want to expedite it as much as possible, and that's why we want you, the viewing public, to really get on this deal and put your pieces together in your respective district and have the discussions that we're having right now. And, and then kind of like be dependent on kind of getting your feed, if you will, from having the show once a week.
Yeah. And I think one of the interesting developments that we'll see in this race, which is different than races in the past, like your city council races in the past were citywide. So you would raise money from the richest people and then mark it down. I lost it. I'm sorry.
Well, I think if you're going the direction I'm thinking you're going the direction, is if to say, if you got, let's say, just for instance, District 4, that's where basically all the bucks are downtown routine. And traditionally, the way it happens, they basically been running like the school board and all this other with the monies. You got me? You see where I'm coming from? So now all of a sudden, if the cats end up here before, well, we're going to control these other three right here. We're going to give them the money and have them sign the contract. We'll do it as we're doing and just focus the piece this way. Have you considered that kind of?
Yeah, and then where I was going with that was I always take notes when I
Good,
write.
no
So I
problem.
got my notepad out. It's a crutch thing.
Community television, buddy. We're trying to communicate.
But I think one of the real interesting things that'll come out of this election is slates.
Yes.
I think because the districts are so small, and there's going to be so many candidates, the people that are involved with politics are going to be working on making slates on issues and grouping the candidates together like that. So that's going to be really interesting to see, like how that manifests itself. I think, in my opinion, I haven't talked to anybody about this, but that is how business is going to try and manifest its power. It's through creating their slates and putting their marketing muscle behind that. So, we're not completely free of having, the richest people choose it.
Right.
But it's just something that's going to be real interesting development for people that are into politics to watch happen over the next 9 months.
Because as we're talking about this piece right now, as if to say, were there any restrictions from the standpoint of saying, well, if I support the candidate, I can only support the candidate money-wise in my district.
Those restrictions aren't in place.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, but then at the same time, you said, we want to keep everybody involved, if you will, but I think it's the issue more than anything. Once you establish the platform, and that fixes it. If a person is outside the district or whatever wants to support that piece, that's fine.
Absolutely.
Maybe they can do it in such a situation, structure it with each district, and say, okay, fine, put the monies over here because we know exactly what that situation is, so the monies will be given accordingly.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Even if it's just expressed. To a certain degree, because the timing is right for it. Because right now it's confused. We don't want to go back into the same situation that got us to where we are today.
That's true.
And that's a fear. You got me? Because people are saying, okay, fine, what we got in the low income districts or whatever. Well, who's going to get elected? I don't have access. In fact, I've got a situation here. I'm in the city of Portland. I'm in the county. I'm in county district number 2, the largest district running around. We got some of the problems. We got the worst problems, and no one's addressing them.
You got them all. You get them all.
And then here's a person that's sitting up here getting ready to run for Congress now, and has not addressed the issues in their respective districts. I'm talking about all the commissioners.
Yeah.
I mean, you see the discussions on 2, 6, and 8 and this, that, and the other, and they're constantly discussing and whatever about this, that, and the other, and I'm sitting there saying, wait a minute, this is a city, but what about the county? The city's in the county's situation, and talking about that money, and we got the folks, the commissioners, they're all talking about city issues and not addressing their own respective districts.
Right.
So I'm not interested in those entities that are with the present structure. I mean, don't get me wrong, because I've been very much involved, I've run before, et cetera, I can say, make a point from experience, that the chair basically ran the whole deal for the county. And the other commissioners were there just for a check.
I've heard that same criticism before.
Yeah. And see, we want them to be responsible. And I'm not trying to knock them per se, but they should be more responsible working on issues within their respective district. And that's the thing. And right now, as you can see, that's why we're having the problem.
Right, and I think it also goes back on leadership. It's Deborah Kafori was a very strong leader. She was very experienced, and Speaker of the House. So she knew what it was involved with, like hurting politicians to get things.
But still,
done.
these other entities were elected to office,
right? And
they've got a responsibility to their constituency. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I like Deborah too, but that's the way the structure of the county was.
Yeah, and I think now, I don't know that our leadership is as strong, or our current leader brings the same set of
the person running the same deal, you know what I mean?
Right.
I was on the Charter Review Committee at one point in time.
Yeah.
I objected to the whole piece, but It was another entity that was running the whole piece.
Yeah.
Same thing. But now we have an opportunity, if you will, to clean that up.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Got me? And as far as I'm concerned, if the other folks want to run again, fine, run. But understand that it's a whole deal. But participating the way you are right now, they've just been participating strictly on getting a check.
Yeah. Well, you know, and with saying that, you know, the people, and this would be a message to the people that would consider themselves like leaders when it comes to like electing people, is that like the moderates need to get better organized.
Yeah, right.
There's this huge disconnect, and it shows that right there in the survey.
Right.
Majority of people want moderate outcome over ideology,
Right.
But for some reason the ideologues are pushing the whole political discussion.
Wow. Man, you got quite a task. I mean, I'm glad it's just not you. I mean, there's some other entities that are part of what you put that piece together, which I thought was great. Got my point? So that's a little light at the end of the tunnel, for that matter. But we got a short time to do it.
Yeah.
So at least that's another reason why we're doing this, and that's why I'm doing this the way I'm doing it, with reference to getting you to get at the table here and expressing and hopefully get these folks to have these meetings, because they're not having the meetings.
Yeah.
See, and they need to have the meetings. So consequently, hopefully, to the viewing audience, you will share this link with other folks that you're familiar with, because you know you can get through Facebook and whatever. Share these meetings, if you will. This is not Toran and Broussard.
Right.
This is about Portland and the county.
And having the people's voices heard.
Got to have the people's voices heard, and you can do that through your own, in your respective district, because you know where they are now.
Yeah, and I feel like with the moderates, it's like everybody's just kind of lumped into one group, rather than you know, like the leadership having the people focus on the issues that they're passionate about, right? Like they're people passionate about drug policy, and they want like a moderate approach to it. You just can't just shove them into any moderate club.
That's
right. You know, people care about like arts and culture. You can't shove those people into a drug policy meeting. People care about homelessness. You can't shove them over into a arts and culture meeting.
That's right.
And so that's one thing that I think, like, what I would consider the group of progressives do a really, really good job at doing, is identifying the issues that people have and then making sure that they're involved with the entity that speaks to their issues.
Well, I'll just be right front with you. I think 4 has a more progressive bent because of its location. Just straight up, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And then that list's going to vary in the other districts. But if it varies where they're just combating whatever and not taking some of the things that are good things, if you will, at the end of the day, because they got a little progressive in their own respective districts, right? You got me? But at the end of the day, it's got to be a piece. Well, anyway, we can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
We got one more minute. Why don't we announce the linkage aspect of it and where to go and whatever? Okay, as a final deal. Go on, Joe.
Okay.
John, real quick, like.
So yeah, you can find.
Real quick.
Ooh, that one's a tough one. We're gonna put the link up on the television screen for you.
Put the link back. Put the link back, will you, Steve?
You can.
In the back of that. Yeah.
You can.
There you go. There you got. There it is, right there.
You can email me at johntoran05@gmail.com, and I can personally email out a link to the survey to anybody.
That sounds great. Well, folks, this has been very interesting. Boy, I'm just so excited about the fact that John put it on Facebook and we responded. He's here. You're going to be seeing him at least once a week. We're gonna have, even if it's a rerun, you can catch the reruns. But it'll be on YouTube. And then i.e. start the business, because we got to get something done right away. Very important. John, thank you
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Have a good one. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you next week. Okay. Okay, that's it, then.
Sweet.
We can keep talking.